Hey folks, it's your favorite Canadian info wrangler coming back at you once again, one more week live through the power of the interwebs. And today, you can see we're starting off from a different point. That's because I went and picked up a friend of mine to go for a ride. Because today we're going to visit a small town called Kakabeka Falls, Ontario. And if you're wondering about the spelling of it, it's in the title of this video. So, Kakabeka Falls, it's not as huge as Niagara, but it is known as the Niagara of the North. I believe I think I read somewhere that it's second only to Niagara. 40-meter high Kakabeka Falls is the second highest waterfall in Ontario. So that means it's second to Niagara and only Niagara. Excellent views of the falls and gorge from the boardwalk that wraps around the top of the falls. Yes, it's a huge boardwalk. It goes all the way around both sides of the river. And I'll tell you something. Burt Reynolds and Ned Beatty wouldn't have made it very far on this one. The Kaministiquia River has cut deep into the rocks to reveal 1.6 million year old fossils at the bottom of the falls. Historic route of the voyageurs. I imagine the falls were not as bad back then. I mean, erosion doesn't happen that fast, so I don't know how they did that. Going down those falls would kill people. I guess they portage around the falls. That's what they would have done. Endangered lake sturgeon. Lake sturgeon. It's an endangered fish called lake sturgeon, yes. Spawn at the base of the falls. Walking and nature trails in summer and groomed cross-country ski trails in the winter. So that's just a little bit of information about Kakabeka Falls. It's a provincial park, but there is a small town around it. And that town is Kakabeka Falls, Ontario. So right now we're driving through town. I've picked Steve up. That's why I was starting off where I was starting off, because that was his house. And we're heading up the Harbor Expressway. Such an express route, too, with all the traffic lights to stop you along the way. Let's see here. So on the activities page of the it's the ontarioparks.ca website. And the listing, of course, is Kakabeka Falls Provincial Park. And it has several sub-pages to it. And on the activities page, it says, under biking, there are no dedicated bike trails at Kakabeka Falls, but most of the campground and main access roads are paved. Poplar Point Trail is a 4-kilometer loop that is well suited to cycling. Birding, B-I-R-D-I-N-G, bird watching. Various songbirds can be seen and heard throughout the park. Bald eagles frequent the gorge below the falls, particularly in the autumn when the salmon make the run up the river to spawn. And there's lots of hiking, 750 meters of boardwalk trail. Linear, easy, wheelchair accessible. Well, as you'll see when we get there, there is a boardwalk that's wheelchair accessible from the parking lot. And there are vantage points that are wheelchair accessible. But the entire boardwalk is not wheelchair accessible. There are stairs. Let's see here. Mountain Portage Trail. Yeah, see, that's what they did. They would portage around the falls back then. Yeah. Poplar Point Trail, blah, blah, blah. There is an area where you can swim where the current has slowed down enough for it to be safe to swim. But, and it's marked off with buoys, however you want to pronounce that. Fast currents can occur if the river volume exceeds 50 cubic meters per second. Entry in the river is prohibited. There are no lifeguards posted at the beach. Pets are permitted on the grass, but are not allowed in the sand or swimming areas. And there's winter activities, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing. There's an ice skating trail. That's kind of cool. So where are we here now? I haven't been actually watching the screen. I've just been looking at my phone and reading from it. We are on the last stretch of the Harbor Expressway, about to hit Highway 17. That's where we are. And at this point, I think I'll hand you over to Gary for a little while. And then I'll talk at you a little more when we get to the falls. Alrighty, here we are now at the falls, and we got this sign here, and if you need a parking pass and you can't, there's nobody in that building where you first pull in, you can scan this QR code and pay for a pass that way, I guess. But there were people in the building when we came in. It was manned, so we were able to pay for a couple hours of parking there. It's not bad. I'm not sure what the daily rate is, but for 2 hours it was $6.50 parking for 2 hours. So, I mean, it's a provincial park and all, not just a parking lot, right? So you got to expect to pay more than you would at just the mall parking lot or whatever. Well, most malls don't charge for parking because that would be stupid. See, now here's Steve getting ahead of me. I gave him shit. I told him not to do that because I don't want to have to edit him out of the whole video. But here, you can just start to see the falls. There's people on the observation deck just below us, so I didn't want to go down there just yet and have them in the video. But now we're going down there. And now you're going to see the falls once I get over to the railing here. See? That's pretty big. And it goes down 40 meters. Right? Let me just double check that. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum. Yes, 40 meters, not 40 feet. That's, you can tell visually it's not 40 feet, but I wanted to double check on how many meters it was, and it was 40 meters. And there's that outcropping in the middle. It's just a weird formation. But you can see it's not quite a horseshoe like Niagara is, but it's a bit of a curve anyway. I'm getting dry here. I'm drinking lots of water. Not because I'm watching a video of waterfalls either. I find that when I drink water, my mouth tends to dry out faster than if I'm drinking coffee or tea. But for some reason, I guess because I got so much oxygen today, my body is craving water. So water is what I'm drinking. I'm not feeling like making tea. So yeah, you can see this boardwalk here. It's really nice. It's really sturdy. Made with thick timbers, blah, 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 steel stairs, etc., etc. But as I said, it's not fully wheelchair accessible because, yes, it has stairs. You can see there's a boardwalk on the other side too. It's also mostly wheelchair accessible, but there's a couple of points where there's stairs. I think actually that one isn't wheelchair accessible. It has stairs on each end of it. But that's the campground side. And I don't know. I guess there's not really much they can do about making it fully wheelchair accessible. This is a view downstream. There's a bit of a dry patch there you could see in the middle. And we're heading back up the stairs. We're going to continue down the boardwalk, giving you more views of the falls as we go. Yeah. You can see that dry patch in the middle there from this angle. They don't want you going over the railing though. They say that the ground is unstable. It's possible if you get too close to the edge, the ground might just crumble out from under you. And apparently that has happened in the past. That's something I should have looked up for you, and I didn't even think of it, is how many people have died going over Kakabeka Falls. You know what? I'm going to ask ChatGPT, how many people have died on Kakabeka Falls? And let's see what ChatGPT tells me. Several tragic incidents have been reported over the years. No. So there's a couple of interesting ones here. There's one where a fellow fell to his death, and prior to the incident, he had an interaction with Ontario provincial police officers, and the Special Investigations Unit was investigating to see if the officers threw him over. And apparently they concluded that there were no grounds for criminal charges. In July of 2018, a group of men in their early 20s were swimming near the rapids at the end of Hume Road near Kakabeka Falls. One of the men went into distress and was swept down the Cam River. The Ontario Provincial Police and Conmee Township fire officials conducted a search, but the outcome was not reported. So there's not really a lot of information about that. That's interesting. There's another view going downstream. So yeah, apparently they don't actually compile records of how many people have died going over the falls. So we're coming up to the end of this side here. We're going to be getting into the parking lot, and then we're going to go over to the other side. So I'm going to hand you over to Gary unless I find something particularly interesting to talk about on the other side. So we're on the campground side now, and I just figured I'd mention that coming up here, the campgrounds are off to my right, and you can't see them because there's a tree line dividing this area and the campground area. But they're close by. And just up here is the souvenir and gift shop. And, of course, they sell some refreshments there as well. They have various... we didn't go inside, so I don't know, but just judging by some of the signs in the windows, they've got various ice cream treats, and they've probably got sodas and colas in there and stuff like that. And then beyond that is one of the washrooms. Steve says they have very nice facilities here. I've never been into the washrooms here, but Steve says they're very nice. And this is a crushed gravel path we're walking down. It's fine crushed gravel, too. It just has that weird feeling under your feet, like the ground's about to give way any time. But yeah, here we are, coming up to the gift shop. They got a picnic table there. And I'm not sure why they put this little bridge in here, but whatever, it looks okay. And as you can see, this part is all wheelchair accessible. This is all level ground. You could push or drive a wheelchair all the way along that boardwalk if you needed to, and all the way along here, the concrete, and over to the washrooms if you so needed. We stopped here for a moment and we entertained the notion of going in. And Steve pointed out that they have a sign for ice cream in the windows. But the ice cream they have is, packaged ice cream on a stick. And Steve and I are kind of ice cream connoisseurs, and we want hard ice cream on a cone. So... and this made me wonder. I don't know what that is back there, but it looks like it's, they look like outdoor pews for a church assembly. So I don't know, maybe that's to keep the fumes outside when they're doing their human sacrifice. I don't know. So we're coming along down here, blah, 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 blah. And like I said, there's the washrooms, and Steve said they're very nice facilities. That's the third time I've told you that now. So we're coming back down. We're a fair ways down from the falls. We're actually overlooking that kind of island there. When we get down to the observation deck, you'll see we're overlooking that part of it. But from this side, it's a totally different view of the falls, and I think it's actually a better view of the falls from this side than it is on the parking lot side. So I wanted to show you that, and I wanted to point out that, I think it is a better view of the falls. And all along this boardwalk, there's a lot of places where you can look in and see the falls and look through the trees and get a good view there. Yeah, look at all that erosion there. And I zoomed in. Yes, there we are. One more. There we go. Check out that tree. Isn't that cool? I thought that was just a really cool tree, so I had to zoom in on it for you. And it's just sticking out there right at the very edge. So here we go. And look at that. That is the bottom of the falls. I would not want to go down there in a canoe. I'll tell you that. Like I said, I don't think Burt Reynolds and Ned Beatty would have survived that one. But yeah, it's a totally different view because you can't see that side of it very well from the other side, from the same side. So it's really cool seeing it from this side. This is actually the first time that I've ever come over to this side of the falls. I've always usually just stayed to that side of the falls, the parking lot side. I've never come over to the campground side. And I'm glad I did today because it's just a spectacular view. So anyway, I think that's about it for now. I'm going to hand you back over to Gary, and you'll see several more views of the falls before we get back in the truck and start heading back to town. Oh, and we stopped in Kakabeka for ice cream. And we did get our hard ice cream in a cone, 2 scoops each. Steve got black something or other and maple walnut. I got 2 scoops of strawberry. Yeah. And you'll see it in the video just as I'm leaving the ice cream shop. You'll see a yellow and red, really old truck pulling out onto the street, onto the street, and it's a rat rod, and it belongs to my buddy Ray Dolph. So I gave him a honk and a wave as I saw him pulling away, and he recognized me even. I was impressed. Okay, back over to Gary. Hey folks, here I am, back at the house now. I know I probably should have cut out more of the drive home than I did. But, you know, it is what it is. You can always skip it if you want. I know some of you like to put my videos on and just do things and have the video running as a background, something in the background, and, you know, that's cool. And so you're probably not going to mind that. And I know some people like the really long videos, like an hour long. So you're probably not going to mind that either. But it was a good day. I just called Steve, and we were planning on doing some yard work today. But because of all the oxygen we both got today, that plan's out the window. We're both a little too pooped for that. We did a lot of walking, got a lot of air, and ice cream. And now it's just... So I got to finish this off while I've got the energy too. And I guess Steve and I are going to try for the yard work tomorrow. Got some brush to burn. Got some cleanup to do. You know, the usual twigs and stuff that fall in your yard and sit there during the fall and get covered over by snow in the winter, and then you clean them up in the spring and burn them. That kind of stuff. And the lawn needs its first mowing, which we always do with the weed whacker, never with a lawnmower. So hopefully we'll do that tomorrow and get that done. And yeah, something like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like. And just losing my train of thought here because I'm kind of petering out now. But give it a like, comment down below, please. Say hi to Gary, something. And even better, share it with your friends. Share it on your social media. Yeah. All right, so that's it for now. God's willing, Daffy Duck willing. We'll see y'all in the next video. Ciao for now.